Further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week we have a new open source image generator and editor called SenseNova U1.5 HB, and this is a huge deal. Here are some example generations for your reference. As you can see, it can generate some super realistic photos. It's also great at designing posters and infographics with a ton of different elements. It has no problem handling all these elements. Here's another example. And like Nano Banana and GPT Image, this one can also edit images using natural language. For example, we can change the text of this poster, or here we can selectively change certain elements in this poster. Here's a cool example where we can just directly label our instructions on the photo, and it can follow all these instructions. This can also take in multiple inputs as references. So here's an example. The really special thing about this is this can generate native 4K resolution, and this generates images end-to-end in pixel space. In simple terms, for most image and video generators, they actually generate images in a more simplified dimension called latent space. This makes it more efficient to process. But then afterwards, you also need to decode the image from latent space back into pixel space, which you and I can see. In fact, you might be familiar with the term VAE, which is a model which you load, which basically decodes the image back into pixel space. Well, SenseNova completely skips this step. There's no need for any encoders or decoders. Now, traditionally, we didn't do this because it was not efficient. It took a lot more time and compute, but they basically optimized it so we don't even need this step. And it can still generate 4K resolution, which is pretty cool. At the bottom here, it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Now, the model is quite huge at around 50 gigabytes in size, so you'll need a high-end GPU to run this, but hopefully there will be more quantized or compressed versions in future that can fit on lower VRAM. Another awesome thing about this is it's under the Apache 2 license, which has very minimal restrictions. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, ByteDance releases their new open source omni-modal video editor. It's called Bernini version 2, and I mentioned version 1 a few weeks ago. You can basically take any existing video and edit it with natural language. So for example, we can add 2 characters to the scene and change this to a warmer tone, or we can also remove a specific character or object in a video. We can also change the camera perspective of an existing video, or change the background, and we can also add in reference images of things we want to insert into the video. So for example, we can insert this helicopter into the scene. Well, that was version 1, and this week they released version 2. Again, this is a huge model at 180 gigabytes in size. Just for the model, not to mention you also need the VAE, text encoder, etc. So good luck running this locally on your device. That's why even the first version 1 hasn't really gotten much attention from the open source community. I think this might be a bit dead on arrival since we already have Minimax H3, which can also do reference to video, but in case you're interested in trying out version 2, I will link to this page in the description below. Also this week we have a new family of open models called Ornith 1.5, and this is a big deal. It's built around a pretty ambitious idea, which is instead of having humans constantly creating new training tasks and data for the AI, here they basically created a self-improvement loop where the system proposes new problems and builds the tools or scaffolds needed to solve and verify those problems. It also generates the solutions and then uses those results as reinforcement learning data to train the AI models. It's basically trying to create a closed loop where a stronger AI can invent harder and harder challenges for itself. So they took this framework to train this new family of open source models called Ornith 1.5, and this consists of 9 billion parameter dense model, a 35 billion parameter mixture of experts model, and the largest one is a 397 billion parameter mixture of experts model. And you can see for the largest one, it performs incredibly well across all these agentic coding and knowledge working benchmarks, such as Terminal Bench, SWE Bench, Deep SWE, Frontier Bench, etc. What's really impressive is that, Ornith 1.5 is only less than 400 billion parameters, but it even beats GLM 5.2, which is twice as large across all these different benchmarks. It also edges very close to Opus 4.8, which is closed source, so we don't know the exact size, but I would assume it's over a trillion parameters. So very impressive results from this new model. Now, if you look at the medium-sized 35 billion parameter model, again, it's pretty state-of-the-art. It even beats Qwen 3.6 across most of these benchmarks, but note that they're kind of cherry-picking here because we already have Qwen 3.8. The nice thing is they've released this already, so if you click on this Hugging Face page, it contains all these models. So the largest one is 794 gigabytes in size. You'll need to stack like multiple accelerators to run this, but the smallest 9B version is only 18.8 gigabytes, so this should be able to fit on most like mid to high-end GPUs. Plus, they also released GGOFs for this, so the smallest 4-bit version is less than 6 gigabytes in size, so this can even fit on low-end GPUs, making it very accessible. So if you're interested in running LLMs locally in addition to Qwen 3.8, here's another decent option to add to your list. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week we have a new super tiny text-to-speech generator called Audio8TTS. As the name implies, this is very small at only 0.1 billion parameters. And like other text-to-speech generators, this basically allows you to take a few seconds of someone's voice and it can clone them to say anything you want. Here are some demos. So first, here's the original voice.
The room is quiet now. Take a slow breath, close your eyes, and let the day fade gently away.
And let's get this voice to speak out this transcript.
Before you leave this morning, remember to close the windows, check the stove, and open them again when you get home.
As you can hear, it sounds very similar to the original voice. Or here's another example. Here's the reference voice.
You are really the sunlight of my day. When I'm with you, I feel so much warmer and better and safer, and it's just the best feeling.
And let's get that voice to read out this transcript.
I'm getting off work a little early today, so I'll pick up some groceries and we can cook dinner together.
And this is multilingual, so here are some examples with different languages.
根据最新气象资料，本周末北方多地将迎来降温，出行前请及时查看天气预报。我今天下班会早一点，先去买点菜，回家以后我们一起做晚饭吧。
Françaises, Français, mes chers compatriotes, je m'adresse à vous ce soir en raison de la situation internationale et de ses conséquences pour notre pays et pour l'Europe. Bonjour, je vais d'abord au marché faire quelques achats. Ensuite, je rentre préparer le déjeuner. Cet après-midi, on pourra aller se promener ensemble.
Bueno, yo pienso que eso sería bueno, ya que así tendremos más medicamentos, tendremos más posibilidades para los pacientes. Buenos días. Primero voy al mercado a comprar algunas cosas. Después voy a casa para preparar la comida. Por la tarde podemos salir juntos a dar un paseo.
Alright, so if this is of interest to you, they've released the code and the models already. Note that the total size of everything is only 1.7 gigabytes, so this is very tiny. This can fit on most consumer devices. And if you scroll down the Hugging Face page, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. You've probably heard people talking about OpenAI Codex, but if you're not quite sure what it actually does or how it could save you time at work, then this free resource from HubSpot called Codex prompts that replace bits of this video. Also this week we have a pretty interesting AI called GeoWeaver. This can turn an ordinary video into a coherent 3D reconstruction of the whole scene. The challenge is that doing this over a long sequence is much harder than reconstructing it from just a few frames. That's because the AI can slowly lose track of the scale and camera position, causing the reconstructed 3D world to drift apart. But GeoWeaver tries to fix this. It first breaks a long video into manageable chunks and predicts things like depth and camera position for each one. Then during inference, it gradually stitches those chunks together and adjusts them until the entire sequence agrees on one consistent 3D world. It uses nearby frames, overlapping views, and even long-range matches between distant parts of the video to keep everything aligned. And the result is more accurate camera trajectories, better global consistency, and cleaner point clouds. You can see across all these benchmark scores, it has the lowest average error rate compared to other competitor models. Now, if you scroll to the top of the page, currently they've only released a technical paper, but for now, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week we have a very interesting AI called Qwen Video Edit, and like the name implies, this can edit video based on a text prompt. Now this isn't a completely new video model from Qwen. Instead, what it does is it uses an existing image editor called Qwen Image Edit, and it plugs it through a video generation workflow. Specifically, they used Alibaba's One for this, and it turns out that you can use this to edit existing videos. It's basically using Qwen Image Edit to edit the video frame by frame. And so from this, you can take an existing video and use natural language to edit any part of the video. The nice thing is they've released the code to this already. So if you click on this code button and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this. They also released the training script for this as well. Now the model is quite huge, so the total size of everything is 41 gigabytes. So you'll need high-end GPU to run this. And honestly, Minimax H3 can already edit existing videos, so I don't really see a point in using this. But if you are interested in trying this out, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week in robotics news, Pacini Tech released their next generation data collection glove called the